Hello, everyone, and welcome to the fifth episode of CRT, and that stands for Cody
Right.
Time. So, Rami, I have a question for you.
I potentially have an answer.
Okay, so when I ask you what you think of when I say a masculine man, what comes to mind?
Jersey Shore.
Jersey, really? That was not the answer I was expecting. You, you, you,
No,
you, you picked
actually, it's my brother.
right.
You know,
For those
he's a
that are
very well. Go ahead.
for those that are listening, can you explain your brother? By the way,
Yeah. Shout out to my brother. Love you, bro. He's a very well built bodybuilder type guy.
mm-hmm.
With big muscles. He's constantly working out. He eats good. You know, typical meathead of a guy, even though he's not a meathead.
Right.
So.
So what you have described so perfectly is the construct that was created from the what those of us here in America and possibly other parts of the world see as masculine and the gender concept of being a man. Like, that's kind of the pinnacle of it. Is
Pinnacle.
the yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
kind of the whole I'm honored or the it's great. Stallone and
Right.
yeah, it's great,
I
right?
forgot about him. Yeah.
or all these guys that are known for their muscles, their power, their shoot first, ask questions later mentality.
Let me
And
tell you something, brother. Sorry.
so this is what we are going to be focusing today on is the construct of gender. And for those of you that do
Yeah.
not know, there is a difference between gender and sex. Sex is the what you are biologically. It is the whole, it's not just when you get that question asked on a survey of what your sex is. The answer is not usually yes, please. It is it is whether you are male or female.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, it is.
And
Um, yeah. Yes, please. Sorry.
oh, that joke from Austin Powers. Um, so first of all, let's get this all out in the open. The whole reason why we are doing this is because there's a lot of things that are going on. The world is progressing at a pretty substantial rate. Like we in this world have progressed more in a lot of good ways in the
And a lot
past.
of
Like,
bad ways.
true, but uh, a lot of the bad ways come because we try to overcorrect a lot of stuff.
From the past.
Yep. So in this episode, Rami, I thought we would shake it up a little bit. All right. Uh,
Sh-
right,
Shaking it up.
right now, we are not going to have this episode be of the good, the bad, and the chunky. All right. This time,
Wow, switching formats.
yeah. This time, I think we're gonna do a little shake and bake.
If you smell a delicious crispy spell after the race, I'm sorry.
So, by shake and bake, I'm talking about first. We're going to go into how the whole man and concept of men and women, what is masculine, what is feminine. We're gonna go over all that kind of stuff and how it was when we were growing up in the 90s, how it was even before that, and then we're going to progressively get more and more and more into it into how it was, portrayed in the early 2000s, the 2010s, how it's going now. And then at the end of all of this, we're going to, go over the result and what is good about it, but also some of the stuff that we might need to do over a little bit. But,
We'll probably be returning to our normal format next week,
yep.
whenever next episode. So don't worry.
So, for those of you that are like young now and that don't remember it, because you weren't alive yet in the 90s or the early 2000s.
That's a
Uh,
beautiful time.
I mean,
All right.
sure, yeah, but it was still a time where you know cigarettes were cool, drinking was cool. The man is the big boys don't cry. Uh,
Can't show emotion.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
What are feelings?
It was all those kind of things. We weren't, we had progressed past the whole women need to stay in the kitchen, but instead it got traded for girls need to play with the dolls and everything pink, and
Yeah.
boys couldn't do that.
No,
Though,
boys can't play with dolls.
though,
Boys
though,
can't cook, Cody.
though,
Yeah.
Rami, I have a confession to make.
You played with dolls,
As a
didn't you?
child, I played with dolls.
You played with action figures.
I mean, yeah, I played with action figures too, but I mean, like, I had a pretty good friend in Colorado, and she and I, when we would, meet up and hang out and all that, because we were practically like family. Uh, she had a bunch of Barbies, and
Yeah.
you know, like we would play with the Barbie and the Ken dolls.
Yep.
Uh,
I had a lot of girls, and when I um in elementary school, because I went to different elementary schools that I would play Barbies with. Plus, I'd play Barbies with my sister. But
mm-hmm.
yeah,
So I mean, it's really one of those things that for us growing up, if we would have told that to practically any of our guy friends, they would
they
have.
would look at us like we have two heads.
Yeah, pretty much. Because I mean, we were boys. We were supposed to be the ones that would be, you know, going to the toy guns or going to get the GI Joes or the Action Men or the freaking Batman action figures that all looked the same. Like,
Yeah,
I
I
mean,
forgot about this.
everyone had at least two or three of the same Batman action figure.
It was
It
annoying.
it was, but I mean, everyone had one, or
Yeah,
three, one to three,
well,
and
I didn't have one, but yeah, go ahead.
I, so it's this whole thing of women couldn't play video games unless it was like the Barbie video games or something like that, according to the norm of the time. The
Or they couldn't play with Hot Wheels.
mm-hmm,
That was because I remember, not to cut you off, but I remember I was playing Hot Wheels with some of my little friends back in the day,
mm-hmm,
um, and they had sisters. And this one time, I was at this buddy's house, and his sister wanted to play Hot Wheels with us, and their dad, my friend's dad, came to check on us. Saw his daughter was playing with Hot Wheels, and his first response is, "Why don't you go play with the Barbies?" I'm like, and I thought that was weird. It's like we're
mm-hmm.
all in because we were all having fun,
Well,
you
and
know?
you were kids. At the
Yeah,
end of the day, kids don't understand the whole concept of gender identity, gender norms, all those kind of things. They don't understand
right.
what social. They can't grasp the concept of a social construct.
Yep.
Um, it's something that they're kind of meant to learn as they grow, figure out, question even, but it was kind of forced heavily as we were growing up.
Yeah,
You know,
like,
and a lot of it was negative in
oh yeah,
a lot of different aspects because I
yeah,
mean, so a lot of things have progressed
oh
since
yeah,
we were young.
yep,
Uh, there is um, a lot of same sex couples are recognized, given rights, which is great.
that's great. Yeah,
It's something that should definitely be celebrated. Uh, in the 90s, it definitely wasn't looked on as favorably.
no, it
And
was on the DL.
hmm and it was
Yep,
just even the term gay, you would, when you're growing up and all that, you would say, if something was annoying, it would be, oh, that's gay. Uh, that was a thing that that was slang back then for a lot of kids. For a lot of us growing up, that was the slang.
keep
And
in mind we probably didn't realize what we were saying,
oh no, we
but
definitely didn't realize what we were saying. If you would have told little child me that by me calling something gay, I was hurting a lot of people's feelings, I would have probably broken down and cried. Like,
yeah, I didn't. I mean, I wasn't even aware of what
of
being gay
sexuality,
was.
right?
Yeah, I
Yeah.
wasn't really aware of sexuality.
I mean, and that's another thing. Gender norms and all of that a lot of times get wrapped into sexuality, which a lot of times I think is wrong because the two are different. You know,
They are.
just because some people do stuff that's more feminine, like in the 90s, cooking, baking, uh, sewing, knitting, all these things were more considered feminine interests.
Women's work, as my
Mm-hmm.
grandfather used to say.
Yep.
And my grandfather was a chauvinist.
Yeah.
Um, and I get that he came from the 20s,
Mm-hmm.
so completely different area.
Yep.
But it always bothered me because my grandma had ambitions to do stuff, and you know, to not to like, because they'd be sitting at the table. Sorry, I don't mean to
No, no,
steal
no.
your thunder here.
No,
Um,
no thunder
a-
stolen. We're all going about this back and forth.
he they would be sitting there, Cody,
Mm-hmm.
and my grandpa would be like, "Sally, pass the salt," and the salt was 5 feet away from my grandpa.
Hmm.
And towards before he got sick, so when I was like 12 or 13, I would actually say to him, "Papa, get it yourself. Like, what are you doing? What are you doing, bro? Like, I love you, but like, you don't." And like,
It's less work for
I,
you to get it than her.
I would ask my grandma. I say, "Grandma, why would you put up with that?" Well, it's because it's always been that way. I mean, they were very, again, different era.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Product
so
of
I
their
think the
time. Some would say traditional. I'd
there you
say
go, there you
overly.
go.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it affected me. It's like because my grandpa would treat my grandma like a servant,
Mm-hmm.
and it's just like no, no, and he's like, well, I mean, grandma had a job and all that, but like the way that he would talk down to her, um, it was just sometimes it was just like, really, bro, like
Mm-hmm.
I love you both, but what the like. I don't know, man. Like I would like, and you know me, I love my grandparents. I miss them, but I, I would fantasize sometimes about. standing up to my grandpa,
Mm.
but I never wanted to see the bad side,
Well, I
so
mean,
I wouldn't
none
say anything.
none of us ever want to see the bad side of things, and
Well,
it's
no, just the bad side of his personality.
that's what I'm meaning.
Oh,
Like,
okay.
I don't think anyone wants to see the bad side of someone or something that they love. You know, like there's
Yeah,
always going to be good parts and bad parts about people and things because I mean, you know, for
it,
for the most
to
part,
bring it back, it just it rubbed me the wrong way.
right?
And I would see it at school with some of the male and female teachers, and it's just like, what are you doing? Like, but that again, that was the time,
Yep.
you know. So
And
anyway, keep going.
when when someone says something like that was that they're the product of their time or anything like that, that is not saying, that is not giving those people a free pass or anything, but
No,
it's one of those things that when you grow up around that and you're told that that is the normal way of doing things, in a way you get you are a you're a product of your environment. Mm-hmm. And
and I gotta be honest here. When I was dating Amy, my last girlfriend,
mm-hmm.
um, that came out a little bit in me. And because she was very, she was for women empowerment, and in no way am I saying I'm not. But I would say, that phrasing, like my grandpa, the women usually like because we would talk about having kids and all that, and it's like I would say, you know, well, women usually stay home and like just that preconceived notion and
Mm-hmm.
looking back on it, bro, I hate myself because that's so wrong. Like, you know, I I don't want to come off like that at all,
Right.
and but again, I think it was just we have to erase that stigma of, well, we're a product of our time. No,
Mm-hmm.
you can change your behavior up until like your 60s, you
Yep.
know. Well, you can change your behavior anytime, really, but it's just silly. Like it's just silly,
It
you
is.
know.
Um, at the same time, though, you can't overcorrect. You know what I mean?
No,
Like you
you
can't
can't erase the past.
you can't if someone does something but they are learning about it, you can't also then be just like, well, you're still a piece of shit because you did it, even though you regret it now. No. Uh, in order for someone to better themselves, it's best to congratulate them for bettering themselves.
And just
In
focus on the now.
mm-hmm,
And that reminds me, and I don't know if this applies to this, but it's like when like people people would say stuff like on social media 10 years ago
mm-hmm,
and they get shamed for it now. It's like, really? Like, you should just, and they would do everything to apologize, man. You
mm-hmm,
know, and it's like just appreciate that they're showing remorse.
mm-hmm.
You know, am I off base here?
No, I mean it's
Or?
so
Okay,
to bring up what they did is a good thing.
yeah,
But if they express remorse for what they did and they're not doing it again, to just keep, pushing and pushing and pushing and pushing and pushing and pushing and pushing, it's
and
not that
basically
great.
try to erase them from history.
Mm-hmm.
That's wrong.
Yes.
Like, oh, you're canceled. No, no, and I don't. I never like cancel culture,
Uh-huh.
and that seems like the norm now.
Well,
if we,
if
well,
people act a certain way now and then get canceled for the way they acted now, I can sometimes get behind that, if you know what I mean.
but it depends
Like
on,
if someone nowadays went
right,
all, you know, went, let's say, all racist cop on someone, yes,
yeah.
by all means, fire that cop and, completely make him obsolete, send him to jail. Then again, I've always kind of been like that, though, especially with cops, because the higher your position of power, the more you should be punished if you misuse your power, in my opinion. Um,
Yeah, I
but
mean,
but with gender, and the reason why I am building this up is because gender is like a the gender norms that we have established throughout history has been making these, it's like building this huge statue,
right.
and like just within these few short years we have been trying to completely destroy the statue, which, hey, that's great when it happens. It's good that, uh, it's good that women are not being as persecuted. We still need to change some things so that they get paid evenly, have more rights, all that stuff. We do need to still work on that. We
We've
need
come a long way,
we have come a very long way.
you
But
know.
but with that comes overcorrection, which I have seen. Um, and what I mean by overcorrection is a lot of people are then when guys start to open up on some things, when guys start to try to be more open and then get shunned by some of the more, guy friends that are still holding on to the masculine stuff of, like, big boys don't cry, big boys don't show emotion, and then they get depressed about it or say something about it to someone else, then the other side will completely be just like, well, I mean, you made this
They'll,
bed, so you have to lie in it.
they'll shred them.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and it's not good.
No,
If you want,
and
if people want to build a society where we can all get along, where everyone is equal, you can't overcorrect. When you overcorrect and you then, like, kind of take the gun from the person that had the gun and then point the gun at them, you're no better than the one that pointed the gun at you. You can't overcorrect because then you become the thing that persecuted you.
yeah, you become the bully.
Yep. And that's not what this society should be built on. We need to have peace. We need to have a place where everyone is equal because we all are. All of us
And
go through struggles. Sure, some of us may get some padding from that people made in the past, but that's not something that we can control.
right,
And
the past is in the past.
mm-hmm, and
Wow, I never thought I'd be saying that. I, but you can't crucify people for their for their um predecessors' mistakes.
mm-hmm,
You can't,
no.
because they didn't do anything. They're them. That was in the past. Can we acknowledge how shitty it was?
Oh,
Sure,
yeah.
we can acknowledge it, and we can do our best to correct it. And like I just said, with the women's rights thing, we've come a long way.
Mm-hmm.
But the
We
stigma,
still have a ways left to go, though. But
yeah,
yeah.
we've come along, but
But
the
yes, we should
stigma,
celebrate where we are.
we should say, yes, that's exactly what I'm saying.
Mm-hmm.
Like, don't, like, still acknowledge the past, but also acknowledge what is now, right?
Exactly.
And I don't think, people know how to do that anymore. They're in that state mentally of we got to fix it. So it's not like it was back in 1992.
Yeah.
Well, it's not 1992. Look around, like things have changed.
Mm-hmm.
Acknowledge that.
Well, and a lot. I think it's a mixture of we need to fix this and we need to tear down what was here first. And it's one of those things where if you erect so much change so quick, there will be people that need to catch up, and you should let those people that need to catch up catch up.
Do not shame them
Mm-hmm.
because they might not know any better. Like, I keep, I'm sorry that I'm referencing my grandparents again, but if my grandparents were alive today, um, my specifically my grandfather, I mean, I'm sure there would be times where I would get angry and like that he has to be taught this because we're all humans and we don't have a lot of patience.
True.
Um, but I would teach him. My
Yeah.
dad would teach him. My brother would teach him. Like, Papa, this isn't how it is.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's better now. Like, you know, you can't talk about women this way. You can't. And maybe he's not the best example, but he's the example I have.
Yeah.
You know, you know. Um, don't don't be shaming people because they're a little behind the times. You
Right.
know, Uh, because and don't write them off either. I think people are so quick to just, oh, you can't catch up. Well, you just suck because you're from this time period. No, no, I'm just human. We're all human. That's
Mm-hmm.
the key. Am I off base here?
No.
Oh, good.
We are all human, and all of us need help. That's something that we even started this podcast for, is to help people realize everyone needs help. You know,
Nobody's
except
special.
right. Well,
Yeah.
except for with this podcast, a lot of times we're more trying to have the people that need the help realize that it's all right to ask for help, and that give them some tools that can be used for their help. But this time, I think this is more to show the people that,
Educate.
yeah, to educate the people that maybe don't need the help in this case, but still should be offering the help to the ones that do need it, or at least be more patient to those that need it. Because, I mean, there's always going to be people that are a little behind in the times. It's because some people just don't keep up with others. And it's
And
because the older
they
you
don't
get.
keep up with what's going on either. Like,
Mm-hmm.
some people aren't on social media. Some people don't pay attention to the news, don't pay attention to what's going on, and maybe that's because they don't want to hear about it.
Yeah.
They're
Or
it's it's
and
triggered.
with people that are
All right,
old,
go ahead.
with people that are older, a lot of times they need more help because they're set in their ways, and
Yep,
it's because as you get older, your personality, who you are, is pretty much already affirmed. When you're a child, teenager, young adult, you are becoming your own person. You are still kind of socially evolving. You're becoming your own person. You are still in the, like, base to mid level in your Pokemon evolution to adulthood. And then,
You were gonna bring up Pokemon.
oh yeah, dude. Whenever I can talk about video games, I'm there, bitch. So,
Okay.
but when you get to being like, the older you get, the less, the more it takes for you to change. You know, the and it, I can also bring this up in Pokemon too, because the more that your Pokemon, did you know that the more that your Pokemon fights and gains experience and all that, the harder it is for that Pokemon to develop its stats more? At least it used to be like that in the older games. I think they got rid of that now. But uh, there was actually like a limit to how much you could increase your Pokemon stats.
Yeah, I remember that.
Mm-hmm. So, I mean, it's kind of like that. It takes more time to increase stats, it takes more time to learn moves or that kind of stuff. You know, it takes time
And
because you're older.
and let me just say, they may not learn all the moves.
True.
People in general, they're just, you know, like you said, we're some of them are set in their ways, and I think the older you get, and we're talking like, you know, my parents' generation, you know, and maybe our grandparents, right?
Mm-hmm.
'Cause they may not change all the way, but I think for them, it's about just the open mindedness of and the awareness piece of
Mm-hmm.
like, hey, we're not in, you know, we're not in 1977.
Yep.
You know, this is 2024. This is what I need to. These are little things that I may need to watch how I say this or how I phrase this. You know,
Mm-hmm.
just to watch out for myself. You know,
Also, I just
and
realized there is something that I should mention.
yes,
Rami, do you know why I have been stating that you shouldn't overcorrect and put more pressure and push and push and push?
why,
Did
Peter?
so in your in your uh, line of work, what tends to happen when you push someone a little harder in a way that they're not willing to go, or keep going after them saying that they're wrong over and over and over when they don't think they are?
Just yeah, okay. Two things come to mind. A, you just hit a dead end, right?
Mm.
Because they're not going to change. They're stubborn, you know.
Well,
And B, it can just be activating.
mm, but when they get stubborn, have
Yeah,
you ever noticed that when you keep pushing with the people that are stubborn, have you noticed that a lot of times they end up getting more and more stubborn, and they just kind of dig
yeah, and they don't
themselves.
see why. They don't. The reason has gone out the window.
Yep.
You can't. That window has closed.
Mm-hmm.
I see what you're saying. I'm sorry.
Yeah. They
You,
they
you
just
know,
dig themselves into the trenches more.
yeah, yep, yep. And because they're right,
Mm-hmm.
they know they're right. Because to them, that's their normal. That's their rational. That's their
Yep.
rational thinking. They're not gonna. They're closed. They become defensive when you questions when you're dealing with somebody that's stubborn,
Mm-hmm.
right? And you constantly question their rationale. There you go. That's the right word.
Mm-hmm.
Rationale. Um, you know, they're not gonna change because they see it a certain way in their head. And the more you question it, just like you said, the bigger the trench.
But there are some ways that I think you can at least start to get them out of that trench. I would say that if you applied like a gentler touch about it, you know what I mean?
Oh yeah, and don't get me wrong, I've especially in my job, you know, um, it's my job has helped me conquer the, you know, put little holes in those trenches, right?
Mm-hmm.
Not even at work, but with my family, with my personal life, with myself.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's like, you know, and you know, when the light bulb goes on, right? That's an amazing moment because they're like, I didn't realize I was doing this, or you
Mm-hmm.
know, I'm starting to see your point. I'm like, yeah, and it's, you know, again, it's not necessarily a bad thing what you're thinking. It's just reframing that thinking a little bit, you
Mm-hmm.
know, and you know, again, realizing where we're at as a society.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway,
We live in a society.
but you hate people.
I
Oh
do
no,
hate. I well, hate's a strong word. I prefer to think of myself as just a hermit. Uh, uh,
yeah,
people. I can only take so much people before my anxiety starts to go rampant. It has nothing to do
yeah,
with hate. It just is a threshold. I have a much smaller threshold than a lot of people.
that's true. Um,
So
I just said hate because that's the words you use
I mean, yeah,
when
it's
when you describe it.
I
So
yeah, I guess it's just I don't know. Hate's an interesting word for me. Um,
it is.
but another thing we need to that should be discussed in this, since we are a since we mostly talk about things that affect mental health, gender, gender bias, all these things, those also have a big impact on mental health. I
Yeah. So where do you want to start with this?
well, so Rami,
Yeah.
would you say? So I'm pretty much doing this to as my way of being a '90s guy, the way of it of thinking at the time. All right, would you say that people would look down on a guy going to therapy? Would you say that that would not be considered the most masculine thing from the '90s
Oh
perspective?
yeah. 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 I mean, I think you know, um, that was the start of the evolution to where we are now.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but I still think that um, I mean, you know, my parents went to marriage there. I'll give you an example,
Mm-hmm.
okay? My parents went to marriage therapy for because they were having issues that I won't get into, but they were having issues. My grandfather, when my dad said that they were going to therapy, he kind of freaked out a little bit. Well, why? You're a man. You know, you don't need to talk about your feelings. You're, you know, just be a man. Don't cry. You know,
Mm-hmm.
and that's, I mean, and that's kind of how I was raised too. Like, you know, like, not. I mean, my parents are loving, good Christian people,
Mm-hmm.
but but just the stigma around, right? I didn't really get it at home, but
Perfect
I got it at
word.
school. I got it at uh I see, I know how to use words. Um 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 you know, you saw it at school, you saw it in the media, you saw it, it wasn't, but to answer your question, yeah, I think so if you said, "Oh, I'm going to therapy," you're doing what? Why?
Yeah, are you
Like
crazy? Is
just
there
the
something
disgust,
wrong with you? Are
a
you
level
going to
of
kill
disgust
someone?
and misunderstoodness
Mm-hmm.
about it was insane.
And now,
And I'm sure it was worse in the 80s too.
oh yeah,
I'm
much
just saying.
worse.
Yeah.
70s, 80s. I'm pretty sure that those would even be worse, especially when you consider a lot of the treatments that were around back then that aren't as around now.
Yeah,
Like, electroshock therapy isn't really used as much. Sometimes it can be used well, but it's not a cure all, and it used to be a cure all, which
yeah. I
caused a
mean,
lot of issues.
I listen. Not to go off on a tangent, but I've talked to clients of mine, callers, that men that have done electric shock therapy, hell, women that have done it, and just it's made them worse.
Yeah.
So it, it's not always a guarantee. I mean, did it fix some of their issues? Absolutely. But it also kind of messed up their faculties that were good,
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, go ahead.
Well, and then nowadays, the whole overcorrecting on gender things, like, it's gone from the thing of, back in the day, the cis white men did hold all the power. And these days, sure, yes, there are things that still have the cushion and all of that, but there are a lot of us that would be cis male because we were born male and we are sexually attracted to women, that we don't have as much power as people think we do. And that's because we aren't all there like a lot of people.
Nope.
Like, if I was a quote unquote normal person, then yes, I could probably go and get a job somewhere and have that and take advantage of that nice little cushion that was given to me by society, and I could probably end up like one of those dirtbag people that take advantage of white privilege and all that kind of stuff. But instead, because of my brain, I have depression, suicidal thoughts, and instead of going out there to get a job where I'm around a lot of people, I can't do that. If I go to somewhere where a lot of people are, I can get pretty bad anxiety attacks. That
He
happened all
can.
that happened all throughout college. I had
Yep.
to give up on college because I had multiple anxiety attacks a week where I
Yep.
couldn't
And
function.
I had to. I was. He would call me in a panic, and he would just be like, "There are so many. There was. It's just too much. I don't know if I can do it today." I
Yeah,
remember those conversations,
yeah.
and it was just. It was a battle every day. Anyway, go ahead. I just wanted to
Well, the reason why
affirm that.
I'm bringing this up, and a big reason we why I pushed for this to be the focus of the episode is because a lot of guys, especially, you know, cisgendered guys, which I always hate using the thing saying cisgendered guys, because I mean, at the end of the day, we're all people. We should all treat each other as people and treat each other normally. But if it's going to be used that way, I guess I'm going to use it that way. I guess. Um, a lot of people are just throwing hate at cisgendered guys because they are cisgendered guys. Because, quote unquote, they built their problems like this when we didn't. A lot of us didn't. There
Nope.
are
I
people
mean,
that, yes, they build their problems, they lie with them. But a lot of us, we didn't build shit. We were born with already leaking rickety ass boats. We didn't build shit. We were just plopped in those and then put in the ocean. You can't
yeah. I
put that
mean,
on
and
us.
I don't, and speaking for me and Cody, we don't know. I mean, we're well. Speaking for myself, actually,
Mm,
I don't know my own genetics, right?
yeah.
I didn't choose this, so you know, to just say, well, you know, you built your own, you created your own ship, Ed. So I in it. No,
Mm,
like, and I'm saying this more in general. It's like, bitch, I've, I've, I have a lot more going on than most people can even fathom.
mm-hmm.
And I'm sure Cody agrees with that sentiment.
I
You
would
know,
agree, yes.
because it's like we're just people, like Cody said.
Mm-hmm.
We're not just because we're not as built as you want us to be doesn't mean that's wrong. We are who we are.
And
Get the
just
fuck over it.
and because we have depression, anxiety, all these things, we are still people. It's not something that you just look at it and be just like, oh, boo hoo, men are doing these things, that men are, feeling depressed, and it's become an epidemic. It has become an epidemic because suicide rates are still going up. And a lot
And
of
there's a
these,
spike in men.
yeah, and that spike does come a lot of times from just having nowhere to go.
And being
You
shamed
can't go
for trying to speak up. Anyway, sorry, Cody.
you like it's the reason for that spike is they have nowhere to go. You know,
Right.
you can't go to the the people that are, pushing for the more masculine stuff, because hey, maybe you're not as masculine. I'm not really as masculine as a lot of people think. As people should, quote unquote, think that men should be like. I like romance. I like poetry. I like a lot of things that that have been considered feminine in the past. I also like, but I can't really go to the other side because even though I like that kind of stuff, I also like women. And
And I
I
like women too.
and I'm not saying that in a derogatory way, because I like, I like gay people. They're fun. A lot of gay
Yeah,
people, they're fun people. I
yeah.
have a lot of friends that I adore that just happen to be gay.
I have a
I
lot of I have family members on both sides that I just love to death every time I see them, and they're gay.
But the thing is, we aren't the ones that are using that as like a shield and a sword at the same time. It's the people that are just that use the words cis male, that are
Right.
using the thing of, well, they were born male and they like women, so this has to be their fault. That's not the case. That's stuff
We
that
can't help
we,
the way we were born.
yeah, we can't help that we were born male, and we can't really help that we're not sexually attracted to men, and that we are sexually attracted to women. That's
And
just.
let me just say this for anybody that says, well, loneliness is your fault, all this is your fault. No, no, it's not our fault. You know, and you should just turn gay. Like, that might solve it. Or you should just jerk off and everything will be okay. No, because, like, at the end of the day, loneliness is loneliness and it's
Mhm.
crippling.
And
It's
there
more
are.
crippling than my non-legs.
You don't need legs.
I, I know,
Oh.
but I'm serious. All joking aside, but I'm serious. Like, I wake up every day and I'm lonely. My buddy here, I know he's lonely.
Well,
It's a real thing. It doesn't go away no matter how much you jerk off, no matter how much you know watch porn or whatever. Like nothing can take it really away. It's living with it.
well,
You know.
and a lot of times those things can sometimes make it worse.
Yeah.
A lot of people that end up saying this stuff like, well, you should just jerk off or you should just watch porn or those kind of things. Yeah, it can kind of.
It's a
It,
band-aid.
it, it can give you that kind of high afterwards, but then afterwards you're still going to then get those thoughts where it's just like, you sad, pathetic, lonely loser. What the fuck did you just do? This is why you can't get anyone. This is exactly it right here. Clean yourself
Right.
up.
Right.
You still get that feeling in those thoughts. And I'm not really in charge of those thoughts. I don't tell those thoughts to come into my mind. Those are just things that I have
Intrusive.
because, yeah, I can't. Those intrusive thoughts are there because my mind is built differently. And my
Yeah.
mind runs out of the feel good chemicals a lot faster.
You have a small drain, buddy.
I have a big drain and too small of a pool.
Oh yeah. Okay. Yeah. Yep.
Yeah,
Sorry.
that's fine.
And I think I do too.
Yep.
To a certain degree. I mean, I think my pool's a little bigger only because, and each of our pools are as big as we can make it, right? Like you do things
Mm-hmm.
to combat your loneliness. Like again, I love connecting what we're currently talking about to other episodes
Mm-hmm.
because this is what it's all about. Um, you know, we each build different groundwork of our pools.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
We do different
Cody,
things to put more water in the pools throughout the day.
yeah, I mean, Cody, every other Wednesday he has a D&D group.
Mm-hmm.
I have, um, I have other friends that I reach out to. I have my niece and nephew that I just had over. You
Yep.
know, but it doesn't take it away completely,
No.
right? And for us to be shamed because we're feeling lonely, and like Cody said, there's nowhere to go. What do you expect us to do? Just get over it and just say, okay, like I'm not gonna be lonely anymore. Fuck you.
Well,
You
and
know,
it's not really something you get over. Telling someone to get over it is like someone saying, just be happy when you
that's
have depression and
and connecting
anxiety.
it to the family thing.
Mm-hmm.
That's what we talked about in our family episode
Yeah,
that is up now. Um,
it is.
that we just um no, like we can't. We want to. Believe me, there is nothing that I want more to not feel as miserable as I do, and I'm sure Cody agrees.
Yep,
We hate this,
we do.
but yet here we are. We're making a choice to live this way. Do not shame us for it. We're already beating ourselves up, okay?
Yeah,
We don't need any extra fuel. Sorry, Cody. I just
it's fine. But now, because almost an hour has passed of this,
I mean, I
I
don't care. I think this was a good subject to go
it's
long form on.
it's good.
Yeah.
I'm I'm just thinking that it's getting close to the time to look at this cake that we made through Shake and Bake. At the end of the day, gender is a social construct.
Yep.
Sexuality is something that you are born with. And yes,
Yep.
that can be, I guess, like corrected or changed through surgery. That is true. and your gender can be something that you build. Gender, your gender identity is something that you build out throughout your life. The way that you feel, the way that you express your emotions, the thing that makes you you, that was something that you built, and that a lot of people that you were growing up with helped build with you. And there are just people out there who have different constructs. But what I'm trying to say, I guess, is don't let society's construct be the thing that tells you
Okay,
what
your
to do.
constructs.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yep.
At the end of the day, whether you identify as a man, a woman, whether you identify,
Non-binary.
yeah, non-binary, whether you identify as Spuds the Canine from Planet Calcion, or any of these kind of things, just
Sorry.
remember, just remember that you are you, and that at the end of the day, you are the only one of you that's out there. And that means that you are more precious than a diamond, and that you are rarer than any star that's out there.
Don't let society dictate how to live your life.
Mm-hmm. And also,
Don't.
don't be afraid to ask for help.
Yep.
If things start getting too bad for you, don't think that, oh, I'm a man, I shouldn't go and seek help. Or, and if you see someone struggling, don't be just like, oh,
Don't
well,
shame them for it.
yeah. At the
Yeah.
end of the day, we're all on this rock, this watery rock that's spinning around a ball of f- flaming gas. We're all on this rock
Right.
together. Instead of trying to make each other's lives worse, why don't we try to help each other up? And by that, I mean everyone. It doesn't matter if they're a big nuisance or not, because at the end of the day, we all still have to live with the big nuisance. Why make the
Of
big
life.
nuisance even bigger?
Yeah.
At the end of the day, you are worth it. You are loved. You are wanted. Those are things that no one can take away from you. Because, and you can't take it away because they were freely given to you by someone.
Yep.
Don't
And
ever lose track of that.
that's that might make you who you are. Don't lose who you are.
Yeah.
Anyway, guys, we appreciate you hanging out with us as always. Please like, subscribe, leave a comment, be kind in the comments, as Cody would say.
Mm-hmm.
Um, how do you want to put a bow on this, pal?
Hmm. Let's see here. Something interesting. Did you know that there was once a little bit of of a social experiment? I don't remember what part of the world it was in, but so the ruler of that place wasn't, I guess, fully comfortable with their sexuality. So they
Mm,
made a law in place where every second or third son needed to be raised like a daughter.
oh crap!
I learned about this in college. And see, a little bit of college is working out here.
You went to
And
college?
your mom went to college. Um, but the so there would be people that would go to that town or that country. I don't remember which one it was, but they would be shocked because there would be these guys there that were dressed like women and engaging in girl talk and all this stuff. Uh, so at the end of the day, was that place more progressive, or was it also just enslaving everyone under a gender construct?
Interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
And now, Rami, you can't stop me with this. I'm going to play the theme song. Good night, everybody.
Just, yep. Bye. Thanks.